All right, you guys, welcome back to Seahawks Forever. Hope you're enjoying your weekend. If any of you were out at the VMAC today watching practice, this might be a little painful for you. News today, Kenny McIntosh, now it's being reported, tore his ACL, would likely be out for the entirety of the season in an injury that happened today on the field during a special teams period, non-contact injury before practice really got going. We'll talk about that and the impact, the immediate impact that it had on my updated 53-man roster projection. Wasn't going to do one this early in camp. I always do one right after the draft, did this year as well. And then we do it later in camp and then right before the actual cut down day, see how close we can get. But because I got access the last 3 days and I was able to be on the field, thought I would do it again because I felt compelled to pass along some changes in how I view this roster and some of the players on it. So we'll do that as well. We can recap since it's live, just some of my overall impressions being out there the last 3 days. Take some of your questions as well. I'm sure you guys have plenty of those. And then whatever comments, questions, any way you want to talk about this as we head forward into next week. The pads come on Monday. We're going to see a whole different side of this team come Monday. Let's do this. Let's get into this. This is Seahawks Forever.
Welcome to the Seahawks Forever podcast. In-depth analysis on everything Seahawks. And now, here's your host, Dan Viens.
I would like to welcome what I believe is going to be a new sponsor of the show. At minimum, we're going to have a really nice working relationship. This ice cold 16-ounce can is from the fine folks over at Fast Fashion Brewing, father-son duo over there, the Storm family, right next to Hooverville, right across the street from Showbox Soto on First Avenue. And big announcement, was going to tease it to the end of the show, but let's not do that. I'm going to be doing a live show from there next weekend. So Football Fest is Saturday, August 2nd at Lumen Field. Not a mock game anymore. That was kind of a Pete Carroll thing. Mike McDonald, not a big fan of that, apparently. So it'll be a practice, but open to everybody at the stadium. It's just a different vibe, different atmosphere. Also, the Mariners are going to be in the midst of a big homestand that weekend, long homestand, and right in the middle of it, the Texas Rangers visit over the weekend. So that happens at 1 o'clock, and then FanFest starts at 6 o'clock from 2 to 4 at Fast Fashion Brewing in Soto on First Avenue. We'll be doing a live stream show from there, but not going to be doing it alone, bringing along a whole bunch of friends of mine that are going to be in town for the event. Brandon Kane of the Hawks Nest, Bryce Coots, old friend of mine, friend of the show, from Hawks Own Rundown. Mookie Alexander from Field Goals, managing editor, is going to be stopping by, and Corbin Smith will be able to join us for the first part of our live stream before he has to head over and do his reporting duties at the stadium. So that will be Saturday from 2 to 4. Come on by, try one of their many beers. This is their Czech-style Pilsner, and the reason it has a picture of a dinner plate on the front of it, a little steak and potatoes there, is it is named after, in honor of an old Czech restaurant that used to be really famous in Seattle called Jabuznik. I'm not familiar. I'm old and I've been in Seattle a long time. I'm not familiar with the restaurant, but this beer is in its honor. Czech style Pilsner. Let's check it out. Ha! Pun not intended, but I wish I had thought of it. That's fantastic. That's really, really nice. 5.3% ABV. Nice and light and crisp, not too hoppy. I've mentioned on the show before, and these guys even picked up on it when they got a hold of me, that my palate has changed over the last couple of years, and I can't really drink IPAs as much as I used to. I still enjoy them, and I like them, and I can't wait to try their IPAs. But this is a lovely, lovely beer. Also, you know what? Just for the heck of it, I'm going to go live on Friday night from there too. Little surprise for you. Working on maybe a guest or two that night as well. Practice that day is 1 o'clock. I'm going to be attending practice, not on the field, unfortunately, from the berm. And then Bryce and all those guys are going to be in town, so we'll be hanging out a little bit at practice that day. But I'll be doing a live show from there on Friday as well. And so not sure of the exact start time for that. It might depend a little bit on just kind of scheduled traffic, how long it takes me to set up, all of that. But just stay tuned for that. Follow me on Twitter at Seahawks Forever so you don't miss any of that. In the meantime, hit that thumbs up button to like this video. Subscribe to the channel if you don't already. And then all the other content that I produce over on Patreon, you can sign up for one of the tiers there. Actually, the bottom tier gets you everything. That's just how I decided to roll over there. But it gets it for you without YouTube inserting ads into it. And once we get into the season a little deeper, there'll be some exclusive content over there for you as well. And then if you prefer the written word, I'm doing that again. My Substack, Seahawks Forever Substack, will remain free throughout the preseason. All the other ways you can donate and support me as an independent full-time content creator are all linked and listed down below as well. So again, today what we're going to do, we're going to work through the 53-man roster. But right off the top, let's talk about Kenny McIntosh. It's injuries are a really, really shitty part of this game. All sports, obviously, but football is such a violent sport. We just see it more often. And this is why, do you remember the conversations that we had around the draft and before the draft? It never fails. Anytime I would put out a mock draft, someone would have problems with each and every one of my picks, and it would usually go something like this. Why are you taking a tight end? We already have A.J. Barner. Why are they taking a safety? We already have Julian Love and Kobe Bryant. Last year, someone tried to tell me before the draft when I was mocking Byron Murphy to the Seahawks at 16 that it would be a waste of a pick because he wouldn't even start. The short-sightedness of the way that sometimes we view that heading into the draft or free agency or whatever, we don't need that because we already have this, is you just can never forget how volatile, how violent this game is, and how unpredictable it is. You can never have too much depth at any given position because lack of performance happens and injuries happen. You know, it wasn't that long ago, maybe a month, 6 weeks, that I did a show about how the Seahawks might have the deepest, most talented running back room in the entire league. Really young, all of them on rookie contracts, 6 of them that I feel like are NFL starter quality. Well, now we're down 1. McIntosh going down without contact today during a special teams period at the beginning of practice. And actually, I had originally tweeted out that Brady Anderson was the first with the story. It was our good friend Curtis Allen of the Seahawks Draft Blog and this show who beat him to it, and he sent me the receipts. So good on you, Curtis. Sorry for not giving you credit where credit's due. I look forward to seeing you at Monday's practice. But it didn't take long. In fact, practice wasn't over yet before Adam Schefter was reporting that team sources were saying they feared it was an ACL. And these reports are usually accurate because that ACL test that they do, you see when they grab the leg and they just kind of hold the knee under their hand and then move the leg, they can tell right away. They can tell immediately if it's a should I say it? If it's a complete tear. They can tell the knee just moves a certain way that it's not supposed to move, and they know immediately. You'll see that sometimes. Trainer will come over, he'll just be like, okay, you're done. That's what it sounds like for McIntosh. First of all, for the person, for the guy, for the kid, for the player, my heart breaks. Just these guys, I think we take it for granted sometimes just how hard these guys work and how much they put into it, how much it means to them, and how fleeting this career can be. It's McIntosh's third year, entering his third year. He already missed his rookie year, essentially redshirted because of a knee injury, and then didn't get an opportunity last year really until the end of the year, and then ended up getting 31 carries and averaged 5.5 yards per carry. This is how impactful that move was. I literally had just released my 53-man roster projection on Substack. So, by the way, those of you who don't subscribe to Substack, 130 of you got a chance to see this roster projection 4 or 5 hours ago. But as soon as I hit publish, the news broke. And I had Kenny McIntosh making the roster. Now, I had changed that. If you watch the projection that I did a couple of months ago, right after the draft, I had Damian Martinez making the roster and not Kenny McIntosh. And my thought was this. I thought, first of all, I've been a Damian Martinez fan ever since his days at Oregon State. Huge fan going into the draft process. Even more of a fan after seeing him in Mobile. Couldn't believe we got him in the 7th round. Thought he was a 3rd or 4th round guy. But he does have a major Achilles heel. He has a severe lack of experience in the passing game, and it shows. Dropped a couple of balls on Thursday, is known to really struggle in pass protection. We haven't really seen that yet because the pads aren't on yet, right? And so for that reason, I had Kenny McIntosh making the roster over him, and then crossing my fingers, hoping Damian Martinez would fall through. We'll talk more about that position and how I've constructed the roster and the challenges of trying to keep as many running backs as I would like to in a moment. But it's just, I'm crushed for him. I really do feel like he could start in this league. Was probably never going to get a chance to do that here unless a bunch of guys got hurt in front of him. And preseason is where these guys get a chance to put reps on tape and for other teams to see. And it's just a damn shame. And I had just been thinking yesterday, almost talked about it on the show. Would have if I did the live stream last night. Thanks again, you guys, for being patient. I just couldn't go last night. That Seahawks have been really, really fortunate as any team in the league, injury-wise. Like I remember Thursday, I think it struck me. And then again yesterday, being out there, just looking around the practice field thinking, okay, Nwosu's not practicing. Riley Mills isn't. We knew when we drafted him he was hurt. There's a couple other guys banged up that haven't been officially reported, and so I can't say, but nothing of major consequence. This one hurts. This one sucks. It also impacts maybe potentially some other aspects of the roster because he was likely in the mix to return kicks, as he did a little bit last preseason. So, yeah, it's a bummer, man. That's a real bummer. All right. So to do this 53-man roster projection, I've already got it spelled out here, got my notes here. And if you checked it out on Substack, you're going to know all the spoilers. But I also want to use a tool. Played around with this last year. This is put together by the German Seahawkers over there. They do a really great job with this. I always appreciate when they do this. And I think I can leave your comments up there in the corner and it won't get in the way. Just be able to walk through this. It's a little nicer visually and graphically than anything I can put together. Starting with quarterback, obviously, all three of them are going to make this, and this isn't in any order. Obviously, Drew Lock will be the backup. Sounds like Greg Bell was reporting today. I saw Brady Henderson say it as well, that another really strong day for Sam Darnold and Drew Lock, maybe Lock's best day of the week. And a really strong day, really sharp day, as Greg Bell pointed out, for Sam Darnold. And that's nice because I told you what I saw Wednesday and Thursday was he was incredibly sharp. And then not as good yesterday. Had a little bit of a rougher day. I attributed much of that to the secondary and the guys that he has to go up against. We got to ask JSN about that after practice yesterday. He said he loves it. He loves going up against Devin Witherspoon, Reek Woolen, Julian Love, Kobe Bryant, all those guys, because, iron sharpens iron, right? We've heard that before. So there's a plan in place. When they drafted Jalen Milroe, they signed Drew Lock to a 2-year deal. They're going to go with three quarterbacks no matter what. I'm convinced of that. Some of you have suggested, especially as we've talked this week about how much better Jalen Milroe looks, how much more comfortable he looks with his new mechanics throwing the football, that, hey, maybe we can afford to move on from Drew Lock, trade him somewhere or whatever, and just roll with two quarterbacks. It's not the plan. It's not going to happen. So let that one go. Wide receiver. Now, I had talked before about the challenges of this position, and this is kind of where you might think that that we have our first surprise, at least as far as I'm going to present this. So obviously, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Cooper Kupp, who has just looked terrific this week. You guys, looks 100% healthy, quick, dynamic, not compromised in any way, shape, or form, physically cutting as hard as I've ever seen him cut and catching everything that's thrown to him. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, some of you think that maybe Torrey Horton can take his spot. And again, I think he was brought in here for a reason. He did really well in Clint Kubiak's system, playing for him in New Orleans the second half of last year. Another veteran presence. They have a lot of young receivers on this team. He looks like a guy out there who is going to be on this roster. And then we're going to go, who did I miss here? Torrey Horton, the rookie. He's been fully healthy this week and looks every bit the part of a 3rd-round pick and not the 5th-round pick that we ended up getting him at because of the injury last year. But Mike McDonald says they're going to keep an eye on it. Still continue to monitor that hamstring that he tore last year at Colorado State, but he looks really good and he's been making plays each and every day. Then we go Jake Bobo, and on my initial 53-man projection, I left him. I left him off the roster just because I didn't think they'd be able to keep 6. I've changed my mind on that, especially after Mike McDonald yesterday said he is an integral part of the roster, and then he said he's part of our identity. Okay, that's it. Jake Bobo has made the team. No further discussion needed. He just does all the little things, right? Blue collar, works hard, blocks well. He's just a Seahawk. Plus, he's not going to make it through to the practice squad because if you expose him to waivers, it'll take all of about 2 seconds for Pete Carroll and the Las Vegas Raiders to claim him, I'm sure. And then I am going to go 6 receivers, and I'm going to go Steven Sims. He has been one of the revelations of camp this week. He offers something different. He's just a different dude than the rest of these guys. He's, 5'10", 190. He's put together different. He's a little shiftier and quicker, kind of a slot only guy, but also someone that can return punts and kicks. More important even now with Kenny McIntosh being on the shelf. They seem to really like him. The way they're using him implies that they like him, and he can do some of that stuff that they have really wanted to be a factor in their offense for quite a while. And one of the reasons that they stuck with D. Eskridge as long as they did, doing some of that sort of creative stuff out of the backfield. Saw him take a reverse yesterday in a red zone session. So I've got him keeping 6 receivers. Steven Sims being the 6th, one of the surprises. I like Ricky White. I think he'll get through to the practice squad. Running back. This is where it's a bummer and where I had to go in and edit my picks earlier. Let me just do this and then I'll explain my thinking. Ken Walker, looking as healthy as I've ever seen him in July. Explosive, dynamic. I have said it before, if there's one player that this offense, one player who can most impact this offense, it's Ken Walker. If we see the best version of K9, this offense could be pretty damn good. And I think we're seeing the best version of him, at least through these first 4 days. He looks really comfortable in the scheme, and he looks angry. And the crazy thing is, perception sometimes can be such a powerful thing. Damian Martinez has a reputation as almost a beast mode type style runner. 60% of his yards last year at Miami came after contact. Real physical runner, 6 foot, 230 pounds. Or 5'11", 230 pounds. But yet, when Ken Walker is standing next to him, guess who's more jacked? Guess who's thicker? Guess who's more muscular? It's Ken Walker. I think he's poised for potentially a big year. I've said it before. He's capable of a Jahmyr Gibbs type impact, and he sure looks that way. Zach Charbonnet too looks a little bit leaner, a little bit quicker. Had a really good day on Thursday. Had without pads, would have been about a 40, 50 yard touchdown run. He's running hard. He looks great. This is where I would have had McIntosh, but I'm going to go Damian Martinez here. He's such a powerful runner, a dangerous runner, a guy that can get you a yard on 3rd and 1, certainly. And a guy that I think probably originally the team didn't think they'd have to turn to as a rookie, but kind of drafted him. First of all, it was great value in the 7th round, best player available, obviously, but with an eye on the future, right? K9 last year of his deal, injuries take their toll. But if he's going to be the 3rd guy, he might get an opportunity to play. Now, obviously, George Halani's going to have something to say about that, and he's a little bit more accomplished in catching passes. I think he caught 80 balls or so at Boise State. He's a little bit more experienced in pass protection. He could make the team. Now, if you ask me, why not keep 4? It's because you have to keep this guy, right? There's going to be a fullback on this team this year. And Robbie Oots looks so comfortable and so good in that spot. And the team obviously agrees because Brady Russell now, he's taken reps as the 2nd fullback, but he's essentially, they still list him here, and I'll keep that in mind. He's essentially been moved back to tight end. I mean, that's mostly his spot. And actually, I think I might have to, let me just double check. Because if you go over to tight ends, he's not listed there. So because of that, I'm going to go ahead and click him here because I do have Brady Russell making the team as a 4th tight end, 2nd fullback. He's a special teams demon. He'll probably end up being voted a special teams captain. That's my guess. He's kind of a spiritual leader of the team. He was out there yesterday getting the 12s all fired up on the berm. He's healthy this year. You know, he was dinged up a lot last year. So even though I list him here as a running back, he will be listed as one of the tight ends, but a guy that can play fullback if Hoots gets hurt or they want to do something creative there. He's essentially the backup fullback. And the 3rd or 4th tight end. Then you go over to tight end, and I'm going to keep 3 here, which ends up being 4. So it's A.J. Barner, who talked to you Thursday about how he's being looked to as a leader now, just 22 years old, one of the youngest guys on the roster, but the most grizzled Seahawk veteran outside of Brady Russell. Elijah Arroyo, who's been the star of camp, I would say, so far. And then Eric Saubert.
I'm not sure how to help you with that.
Eric Saubert, who... Never mind. Alexa decided to butt in. Wait until I'm not going live, okay? Schmexa, that's what I always used to call her, so she wouldn't be set off. Don't know what I said there, but anyway, Barner, Arroyo, Saubert. Mike McDonald talked about Saubert and how well they know him, the familiarity there with some of the staff in the past, but also a guy that can do a little bit of everything, and they really like him, obviously, because they felt comfortable letting Noah Fant go on Sunday. All right, offensive line, some big decisions to be made here. I'm keeping 10. So here is what, if they played tomorrow, based on what I've seen, and there's a lot of mixing and matching going on this week, this is what I believe the starting offensive line is going to be. Charles Cross at left tackle, obviously. Gray Zabel is entrenched at left guard. I don't think there's any question about that. It's Olu at center. It's Chris Haynes at right guard. And it's Abraham Lucas at right tackle. I believe that's their best 5. Jalen Sundell is in the mix at center and right guard. He's on the squad, and he's got a shot still to beat out Oluwatimi, I think. I think he has a better shot to beat out Oluwatimi at center than he does to beat out Haynes at right guard. But it just feels like he's such a fit for this scheme athletically that at some point he's going to be a starter in this group. I would like it to be at center as much as I like Oluwatimi. You'd always like to see the 81st pick become a long-term starter. I really want Haynes to be the guy at right guard and then let Oluwatimi and Sundell battle it out at center. I guess I need to wet my tongue a little bit here. Let them battle it out and may the best man win. All right, so now we got to fill out the rest of this. I was really torn on this. Josh Jones signed to a 1-year deal up to $4 million, $1.5 million signing bonus. That doesn't necessarily preclude them from cutting him if a guy like Mason Richmond should have a really good training camp. He's a guy that John Benton really pounded the table for before the draft, really wanted to be a part of this roster. The only player in Iowa history to start 4 years at left tackle other than Tristan Wirfs. They've got him working a little bit at tackle, but mostly at guard. I think Richmond could make it through to the practice squad. I don't have him making this team, but if he has a great preseason and they feel like they have too many bodies there, I don't think they'll bat an eye at eating $1.5 million to release Josh Jones. Still, 27 years old. He's a guy that McDonald saw in Baltimore. They've spoken highly of him, and he can play both sides. Also, I'm putting Michael Jarrell on this team, and coming into camp, I wasn't so sure about this because I wasn't sure he could play the left side. He played the right side exclusively at Findlay, so not only is it a huge competition jump to go from Division II to the NFL, but also to go from the right side to the left side. But he's built more like a left tackle. It's just that his film from college, he's just mauling guys at right tackle. It just kind of contradicts what you see with your eyes now watching him live. But they've been playing him a lot at left tackle in the preseason, and he's handled himself well. I think they really like him. I think his athletic upside is immense. And don't sleep on Michael Jarrell. Don't give up on him yet. I think he has starter potential, especially if this team decides to move on from Abraham Lucas after this season. So what do I got there? I got 5, 6, 7, 8. And then I've got Bryce Cable-Dew making this team for a couple of reasons. One is he is an elite athlete for the position. Played a lot of right tackle at Kansas, but he projects at guard. And from what I've seen, in granted, it's a lot of like one-on-ones and two-on-twos and individual work. He just moves so easy. He's such a natural athlete. I love the way he's put together, and I like the tape. And I think he's one of those guys that they really fell in love with, too, all through the process. And really were ecstatic to get him in the draft. I think he's a guy that they would worry about losing if they tried to get him through to the practice squad just because of that athletic upside. And then Satao LeMay, I've got making it because of his versatility. They've got him pretty much evenly switching back and forth between right guard and left guard. There's a lot of value in that. In a pinch, too, in an emergency, like maybe we saw last year when Jarrell, who was essentially the fourth right tackle at that point, had to come in and start a couple of games. He played 2 years of right tackle at Utah and was all Pac-12 at that position. I think he could get you out of a game in a pinch if you had to kick him out there. So those are my 10. Maybe you lose Richmond trying to get him in the practice squad, but again, I don't think so. And then the thing with Bradford is this. You can talk about how he's slimmed down a little bit. You can talk about how he's an elite athlete for his size, at least in his testing. The testing doesn't really seem to translate to the field. And as much as he can absolutely destroy people physically, and he can get to the second level, I just have a huge problem with him in pass protection. You see it on tape. There's so many bad reps. I've seen it in practice this week. He gets beat off the line of scrimmage sometimes in his first step so easily in pass protection. I just don't think he's a fit. I do think he would have some value to a gap power team out there, and he might be one of those guys that maybe you can get a team to throw you a day 3 pick, a conditional pick before cut down. A team that would really like to take a shot on a young guard with a bunch of athletic upside who's a mauler in a mauling scheme. So that's what my offense looks like at the moment. All right, on defense, not as many really, really tricky battles here, but let's go through this. A couple of injury issues. Defensive line, I think we'll put Leonard Williams on the team. What do you think? Byron Murphy, Jaron Reed. They've got DeMarcus Lawrence listed as a defensive end. Some of this is going to be kind of discombobulated a little bit because some of these guys actually play outside linebacker. Murphy, Reed. I've got Hankins making the team, even though he's out with the back issue right now. I've got Brandon Peely making the team. I'll come back to that. And I've got Mike Morris making the team. Again, DeMarcus Lawrence is showing up here, but he should be in the edge group, which we're going to do next. So the quote unquote linebacker group. Williams, Murphy, Reed, no brainers. Hankins, he's on this team if he can get healthy, and the team doesn't seem concern. Mike McDonald said it's not a worry. He's just a 13-year vet. We're trying to take care of him. So he'll be here, and if he's ready to go, he'll be on the roster. The reason I have Peely here over someone like a Quentin Bohanna is Mike McDonald was asked about him yesterday, and he sort of lit up. He said, you just can't have too many big athletic guys. Like, he can really move. He's a real athlete. And I think he's a little more versatile than Bohanna and can offer a little bit more. And then Morris, I've got making the team for a couple of reasons. One is Riley Mills isn't going to be ready to go to start the season. I think he's going to be on the PUP list into the season. That's just my gut, just kind of seeing based on what he's done so far this week. If Riley Mills is 100% healthy, I think they play a similar role. They can reduce down inside. They can play the big end as well and come off the edge. I think Mills gets this spot, and it's an uphill battle for Morris. But also this, he had a really good week. Every single day, even though no pads, you can still see guys, beating linemen that are lining up across from him. You can tell which guys have a little bit more juice than the next guy. He's been in the backfield every day. There's a couple of times where he got to the handoff on a running play and would have been able to blow it up if they had been going full speed and contact was allowed. So for now, I think he's on this team. We go to linebacker, and this is where things get, again, a little bit tricky because of just kind of how they're lined up. Because Jared Ivey is another guy that's listed, McDonald refers to him as a big end, but he's listed as an outside linebacker. And the inside linebackers and outside linebackers are all lumped together here in this tool. So let's do the inside guys first. We go Ernest Jones, Tyrese Knight, and Drake Thomas. I really don't think there's anything else to add there. Those are the three guys. They love Thomas and how smart he is. He can play Mike and Will. I always say this every time I bring up his name. He's a guy that I loved when we got him last year at the beginning of the season from the Raiders. But also when I did that video the day we got him, it's still to this day my most viewed video of all time. Those are the three inside guys, and I'm only going with three because, again, you have to – third quarterback has to come from somewhere, and a fullback has to come from somewhere, right? And there's enough versatility here in how they operate this scheme that you don't necessarily have to have a fourth inside linebacker because you're going to play a lot of nickel, depending on who you're facing, a lot of nickel, quite a bit of dime. There's going to be times that there's only one true inside backer, off-ball backer on the field. That'll be Ernest Jones, obviously. Sometimes it might be Tyrese Knight. And so if you need a fourth guy because of a particular game plan in a particular week, you can elevate a guy from the practice squad. Or, Greg told us on the show here, Greg Bell, a couple weeks ago, that in OTAs and minicamp, Nick Emanwari was playing more weak side linebacker than he was like big nickel or safety. He could play some weak side linebacker responsibilities as well. So for now, that's why I'm going with three linebackers. You always have the flexibility. It's not just 53. Keep that in mind. You can have guys on the practice squad, bring them up on game day, and kind of use that to your advantage as well. The outside linebackers, Boye Mafe, Derek Hall, and then I've already got DeMarcus Lawrence on the roster, but he's listed here as a defensive lineman. So those are your three. That's not enough. They typically carry five. They carried five last year. If you remember, Trevis Gibson was a fifth along with Draymond Jones, and sometimes six because, de facto six because Leonard Williams plays edge sometimes as well too. And then I've got Jared Ivey making the team because Uchenna Nwosu is such a question mark. Now, for now, I'm counting Nwosu as a member of this team and as one of the 53, even though he's still on the PUP. But I don't know how much longer I'm going to. And I don't know how long it's going to take before we hear something a little bit more definitive. When Mike McDonald was asked about him Wednesday, the first day of practice, it took him a minute to gather his words. And when he did give his answer, it sounded pretty ominous. Like, it kind of sounded like when Abe Lucas was first hurt and they said there's no timeline, and they kind of sounded like they didn't know exactly what it was. That's where I'm at with Nwosu. And I'm going to do a show on this tomorrow. We'll talk about this kind of in a standalone episode, but they may be out there looking for help. And there's one player in particular I think would fit, but there's probably some other options as well. If Uchenna Nwosu can't go, I don't know how comfortable they're going to be going into the season with Ivy as their fourth guy and nothing after that. I mean, maybe some of these guys will step up and flash as we get into padded practice. But to this point, none of these guys that are listed above that I haven't clicked yet are sure things. I think it's very possible that there's a guy from outside the organization on this roster in one of these spots when the bullets start flying. Cornerback, Devin Witherspoon, Reek Woolen, Josh Jobe, and then some question marks. Shamar Jean Charles had a really good OTAs and mini camp. But I can't put him on this roster right now. He just he's not 100% healthy, and so I just can't give him that spot as a low cost 1-year contract veteran free agent. I am putting Nehemiah Pritchett on here. I think the team likes him. The 5th round draft pick out of Auburn last year. He flashed in preseason last year. He has made some plays this week. He had an interception off of Jalen Milroe on Thursday when I was watching. He looks good. And I think, I think they need to have an eye on the future with Witherspoon ready for a big payday. Reek potentially for a big payday. Josh Jobe on a 1-year deal. There's not a lot of certainty there. Shaquille Griffin's another guy that I think I would probably put on this roster as a 5th cornerback, but he hasn't done anything this week. He missed the first day because he was, coach said he had an illness. Second day he was out there but didn't do anything. And then yesterday he was excused for a personal issue that the team says they're supporting him on. So I'm not 100% sure if Griffin's going to be around, let alone get enough reps in to make this team. So I'm going with Issa Swaxter, who I had some reservations about, the undrafted rookie out of Villanova, because he's a 4.6 guy. That's what he tested at in the offseason. But when you see him in person, he's so put together. He's long, tall, physical. He's got a lot of tape where he's coming up and supporting in the run. We know how Mike McDonald loves that. And I saw him make plays. Yesterday, I saw him make 2 pass breakups right in front of me. One, a Kenneth Walker dump down pass. He timed it perfectly, came in, punched the ball out. He's in position. Another one, it was, I saw him defend a deep ball and break up a pass. He's looked good these first 4 days. Another guy that I'm excited to see in pads. Let's go over to safety. This one's pretty cut and dry. Julian Love, Nick Emenwari, Kobe Bryant, and Ty Okada. The tough one here is DeAnthony Bell. He has done nothing but play well all through OTAs and minicamp. But he's a veteran, and he just has the feel. He feels like the safety version of Artie Burns the last 3 years. Like a really valuable safety that could get reps on game day, but maybe they release him on the cut to 53 and they wait to re-sign him until after week 1 when his salary doesn't vest, right? When it doesn't have to be guaranteed. Because what did I say I was going to base this projection on? And it was what I saw at practice. And while DeAnthony Bell did have an interception on a really nice read of a Sam Darnold pass on Thursday, Ty Okada's out there with the 2s all day long and sometimes the 1s. He was elevated to the active roster late last year. He's just one of those guys that every time he turned around, he's on the field. Obviously, the coaching staff likes him. I like his play style. I've got him making the team based on what I saw this week, but I think Bell could be one of those guys that could be like an Artie Burns where they release him and bring him back. And then, that's obviously bad news for Jarek Reed, but he's had some bad luck. He had the ACL 2 years ago. We know how good he is on special teams, but he's running with the 3s, and he's behind Okada and he's behind Bell. I've even seen AJ Finley make more plays than he has this week. He's just a guy that hasn't really taken advantage of his opportunities. And also probably a guy that's not going to get claimed on the cut down. You can get through to the practice squad too. Remember, any of these, if I go into the comments and some of you are like, what about that guy? You should, like Derek Jackson, great example. The rookie undrafted free agent out of Kentucky, who I really like as an inside linebacker. Liked his tape, thought he was a draftable player, couldn't believe he slipped through the cracks. He's not a guy that's going to get claimed. He was available in June still for the Seahawks to sign. That tells you what the league thinks about him. He'll get through to the practice squad, in which case then he's available to you on game day. So that was another reason that I decided to go with just the 3 inside linebackers at least, because you do have to be conscious of protecting young players that you don't want to lose. And then obviously these are too easy, maybe the most stable group of specialists in the entire league. So that is my 53. All right. Let's see what you got. I knew someone would ask me about Jamie Sheriff. John hits it right off the bat. By the way, John, your shirt's going to get to you. I promise. What are the chances that Sheriff and Ivy make this team over Morris, in your opinion? Will they make the practice squad? Over Morris, I don't see, because you got to have a certain number of those big guys up front, right? And I think with some of the questions on that defensive tackle group, the nose tackle group, Morris is a guy that can play inside and give you some of that versatility. I know what happened, you guys. I get it. Sheriff made a couple sacks in the preseason and against 2s and 3s last year. I just don't see it. If sometimes I try to, usually this week, because I knew my time is limited, I tried to watch a specific thing each day. But there are other times where I just try and stand back and let practice come to me, right? Let guys show themselves and flash. And Jamie Sheriff never did. They're trying him at off-ball linebacker now. He doesn't really look comfortable there. And that's a tough transition. We've seen guys go from off-ball linebacker to edge, because in that case, all you're asking that player to do is take away some of your responsibilities and just focus on fewer things, right? Set the edge, go after the quarterback. There's so much more to digest, and a whole different package of instincts you need to have at off-ball linebacker to make the switch the other way. Doesn't make sense to me. I actually like Tyreek Smith more than I like Jamie Sheriff. But I do have Ivy making the team, as you noted. I think he's a guy that's got a lot of upside, maybe more upside than Morris, actually. And a guy that I still can't really believe didn't get drafted. That just blows me away. There it is. Almost forgot. It's coming, man. I just was able to get my studio set up today. I'll try to get by the post office on Monday. You're right, Shane. Jarek Reed does flash in games. I liked him in his rookie preseason. He's going to need to really stand out. You can win jobs in preseason games, and that, I think, is going to be his opportunity. Yeah, I don't know what's up with your member star, Shane. That is the weirdest thing. I am so sorry. Hey, X-Wing asks, since you set up your green screen in studio, does that bode well for the future? Here's my answer to that. I don't know. That's all I'm going to say from now on. I don't know. But regardless of what happens, credentialed or not, it's not going to change. It's not going to change anything I do here. I'm still gonna cover the Seahawks full time and on a daily basis, and give you the best analysis with the best guests and the most consistent content that I possibly can, and then just keep trying in the future. But you'll be the first to know. Trust me, if anything happens, you'll be the first to know. But I will say this. I am going to stop talking about it. So a tremendous amount of respect for the organization. Very grateful and thankful that I was given access the last 3 days. I know there were a lot of people that requested access and were told no. So I'm very grateful for that opportunity. And if that's all it ends up being, then I respect that and respect the decision. I will continue to let them know. They know where I stand. They're very aware of my intentions and my goals. We'll see. Seahawks fan 72. What about Shaq Griffith's performance so far makes you think he won't make the 53-man roster? Because there has been no performance. He hasn't done anything. He didn't practice Wednesday. He wasn't there yesterday. And he was just stood on the sidelines on Thursday. He didn't do anything either. So he hasn't been out there at all. At all. Let's see. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, Okada's one of those interesting guys, John. You said you'd rather have Bell than Okada. He's always in the right spot. He's always around the ball. And smart, tough, reliable, right? We know how the Seahawks love those qualities, and he just continues to do that. And I do think there is something to the way they've handled contracts in the past to think that they might release Bell and then bring him back. That's why I think that one makes a little bit more sense to me. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Yeah, a lot of talk about Uchenna Nwosu. It's like I said earlier, injuries just suck. They really do. And they have been fortunate up till this point in camp. Look what's happening around the division. I mean, the Niners have been racked with injuries, especially injuries are especially tough when they attack one position group, right? We've seen that here in Seattle. We've seen it in the past we've seen our defensive line be ravaged by injuries. We've had to we had to start a playoff game not too many years ago with a cornerback who was signed off the street. We had to bring Marshawn Lynch out of retirement in 2019 to play running back down the stretch. Like when one position group gets ravaged by injuries, it can really be tough. So let's hope, knock on wood, that when other injuries occur for the Seahawks, and they will, that they're spread out a little bit among the different groups. 49ers, I don't envy their situation there with their wide receivers. The Rams franchise quarterback was supposed to return to practice on Monday, coming back off some back issues. Sean McVay says he's not going to be back on Monday. They think he's going to be fine, but any day that your quarterback's not out there, especially if you have to delay or push back a deadline, that's a concern, right? So it's, and the Arizona Cardinals, already their first round draft pick, Walter Nolan, is going to miss all of camp with an injury. That's a blow. They needed him. That was a perfect situation in the draft of need meeting value, where they need to add some juice to their defensive line. That's a big issue for them. And now they're going to be without Nolan. So, losing your third best running back, worse things can happen. The older I get, the more I feel with the player when these things happen, more so than the fact that my favorite team is going to be down a player, right? It's just a real bummer. John, it's hard to tell without pads, right? Ask me again Monday night. I'll go live after watching it live with the pads on. If any of you are going to be out there Monday, let me know. I'd love to shake your hand. I'll be out on the berm. But I'll say this. He does, like I focused on him exclusively Thursday. I've got some video I can show of he and Mafe and Derek Hall over on the sled doing some work. The day after Mike McDonald said he's the best drill player I've ever been around, and sure enough, he was attacking that sled like his life depended on it. He looks really fit. He looks healthy and in great shape. And I think anyone sleeping on him that thinks he's over the hill, or that, last year was really the first year he missed games with injuries in quite a while, that he's washed up, whatever. Just watch out. They signed him because they expect him to make a significant contribution, not just this year, but potentially beyond that as well. I expect him to be a major part of that rotation up front. I really do. This is a cool question though. I'm a Hall guy. John asked, who do you think will be better this year, Hall or Mafe? I love Mafe's upside. I love the athleticism, but it's year 4 and we're still kind of waiting for him to put it all together. We've seen flashes, 7 straight games with a sack, but what Derek Hall took a step from his rookie year to last year, a huge step, 8.5 sacks last year. The sack where he beat Taylor Decker and one-handed sacked Jared Goff is like a highlight reel type sack. Mafe's sacks usually come as a result of other people doing their jobs. Some of it is he's kind of cleaning up after others. He just hasn't established him as a guy yet that really causes any issues or headaches for opposing defensive coordinators or offensive tackles. It's in him though, and he's capable of having a huge year and leapfrogging back ahead of Hall, in which case he might just price himself out of what the Seahawks want to pay with what edges are getting paid these days. I like Hall better. I know Maffe's a little twitchier, a little more explosive, but Hall is just so strong. And, I did the show about his backstory. It's hard not to just be in love with the person. I love Maffe's story too. It's a tough call, but I would go Hall by a nose. How's that? By a nose. Oh, Shane, I appreciate you. He said, I can't wait for Seahawks football. My wife is sick of my constant podcast from the kitchen. Don't you have earbuds? The bedroom, the lounge room, the bathroom. I listen to it all, but Dan is the top of the list. Appreciate you, Shane. Thank you very much. John asks again, how big of an impact do you think Oots makes in the running game for this team as a fullback? I am as high on him right now as any player that I saw this week. Like first of all, when you see him in person, 6'3", 274, he's just built like, out of granite, but he moves so well. You can tell he has tight end in his background. He's taken to it so comfortably that he is the hands down, unquestioned number one fullback. He's on the field a lot. I cannot wait to see what he does. And not just blocking and, going in motion, catching some balls in the flat, stuff like that. I want to see him get the ball on 3rd and 1. I want to see him get the ball near the goal line. I think this could go down as one of the most inspired draft picks in a long time. Like to know they had to add a fullback somewhere and to pick a second tight end from a major college program, a guy that had only caught, I think, like 8 balls in his career, and say, hey, I think we can make a fullback out of that guy. He sure looks the part. And I think there's great things ahead for Robbie Oots. Whatever accolades fullbacks can achieve, I think he's got a chance to achieve them all. You talking about Jacardia, right? He's a small school guy, right? He got a couple of touches yesterday and looked good. I like how he's put together. He's really thick on his lower half. He kind of looks like the rest of them. It's like the Seahawks kind of have a type with their running backs. And it's just such a numbers game. They typically keep 2 on the practice squad, though, so he's got a shot to stick around. This could be, Steve. The last commenter just said, don't sleep on Jacardia Wright. Don't sleep on George Halani. Like if he hadn't had the injury issues he did at Boise State, he's a 2nd or 3rd round pick. Like he had a really nice career when he was healthy. Great combination of size and speed, does catch the ball well. He's got more experience in the passing offense. He absolutely could make a statement in the preseason and beat out Martinez. If Damian Martinez is going to make this team, he's got to look like Marshawn Lynch in the preseason. Like that's his style, like the yards after contact. He has to go out there because of his shortcomings in the passing game and the competition in that room. He has to bulldoze guys. I'd say he has to average 5, 6, 7 yards a carry in preseason to have a shot to make this team. I hope he does because I think his future, I'm really bullish on the future, but it might be a little bit more of an uphill battle than maybe I previously thought, just because of the depth of this room, even after the loss of Kenny McIntosh. X-Wing says, sounds like several of the vets are expecting big things from Murphy this year, as am I. I'll expect even bigger things if they can lock down that nose tackle position a little bit better. And that doesn't necessarily mean go out and get one, but if Jonathan Hankins can be healthy and be solid on early downs, if one of the guys, either Bohanna or Peely, can step up and give him a rotational guy, just so that Murphy doesn't have to play any nose tackle snaps. I do think it was overblown a little bit last year how much he played nose tackle. I think according to PFF, it was like 16% of his snaps, but I'd rather it was 0. And he said he's on record as saying the team has told him that he'll play a lot more 3 technique this year. That's where he belongs. I think he's got a chance to make a huge jump, maybe end up with 5, 6 sacks this year and really be more of a nuisance in the passing game. And he just, yeah, it's defensive tackles usually take 2 to 3 years to reach their potential. And I think we'll see him take a step towards that this year. You're talking about as a trade target, Shane, Kayvon Thibodeau. I could see that. Seahawks could certainly afford it. Is he in the fourth? Would he be in the last year of his rookie deal? And plus, they're kind of loaded there with the Giants at edge. They added Abdul Carter, and they already have Brian Burns. Like, it's nice to have three, but they need some offensive line help still, don't they? Do they run outside zone or do they run gap power? You see where I'm going with that? I'm not quite sure. I'm just spitballing. Thibodeau's had some like practice habit attitude issues in the past, but I don't think anything has cropped up while he's been in New York, has it? Yeah, that could be one. I hinted at it earlier too, but I think Jadeveon Clowney is still in play as well. Certainly he's got the history with Mike McDonald. I think he's waited to sign for a reason, kind of waiting for that perfect opportunity. I thought when he was first released by Carolina that he didn't make sense because he and DeMarcus Lawrence have a kind of a redundant, similar skill set, right? Real good edge setters, elite run defenders when they're at their best before their pass rush ability. And both of them get to the quarterback kind of more on effort than they do like really refined pass rush moves. But I think just with attrition, if Nwosu's going to be out for any length of time, I think Clowney might be in play. But Thibodeau would be interesting. He really would. He would give him something a little bit different than they have, which is just a guy with elite burst off the edge. Let me see here. I missed super thanks from Shane. Really appreciated yet asking. I think I've addressed this. The answer's no, not yet. But fingers crossed. If the answer is no, I'm still going to stay in the area here through the preseason. I said I wouldn't talk about it anymore. I'll talk about it one more time. I'll stay through the preseason. I've got some things planned. Obviously, we have the live shows next week at Fast Fashion Brewing that I'm really, really excited about. And just want to hang out, see some family, and do some things. Might even pop into my old job for a couple of guest appearances before I head back and join my lady. But first things first, I'm going to stay, one day at a time and stay positive and just keep hanging out with you guys and get into some preseason games here coming up pretty quick. Let's see. If they traded for a big name defensive end, would you rather have Clowney, Parsons, Hendrickson, or Thibodeau? It's Parsons. Like, he's the one guy, as much as I can tend to be, I'm a little bit more conservative. I'm like a draft and develop guy. I think the Seahawks are uniquely set up to make a big move like this because of the balance that we see across the roster, how much youth there is on the roster. And it's a roster full of good, not great players. There's players, and we've talked about them before, we'll talk about them again before the season starts, that are on the precipice, that have the opportunity this year to step up and make themselves known as blue chip players, star players, great players. But right now it's a lot of good players, right? A guy like Micah Parsons is worth selling the farm for. I would, especially with his relationship with Adam Dirty and how well I think he would fit and how Mike McDonald would really get the most out of him. He's elite of the elite, and he's 26 years old. Like, he's in his physical prime. Is he even 26? How old is Micah Parsons? Somebody tell me. I bet you could tell me in the comments before I looked it up on Google. Alexa, how old is Micah Parsons?
Micah Parsons is 26 years old.
There you go.
On May 26th.
Okay, Alexa, stop. She pissed me off earlier, but she came in handy there. So he's 26. Like, it's insanity to get a guy like that in the prime of his career, an absolute superstar. There is nothing about the way the Seahawks are set up financially, looking forward the next 2 or 3 years, that would prevent them from being able to acquire him, pay him whatever it takes, and really not even feel it in the future, right? We saw the LA Rams win a Super Bowl after going 4 years without a first round pick. This roster, the way it's built right now, can withstand not having a first round pick next year, in large part because you took a guy this last year who could be your franchise quarterback, so you're not feeling like you have to go hunting for that. So yeah, to me it's Parsons. I don't know that this is true. I'm guessing that you're saying this because Parsons kind of chipped back when Lawrence had that little comment to Brian Nimhauser about how they haven't won anything. I thought that was good-natured ribbing between teammates, giving each other shit. We've seen Seahawk players do it. I don't know that there's really anything to that. But also, if there was, the Seahawks aren't going to not acquire Micah Parsons at 26 because their 32-year-old veteran free agent they just signed doesn't really like him, right? They're gonna do what's best for the team and the future of the team. And if they have an opportunity to acquire Micah Parsons at a price they're comfortable with, I think they'll do it. And DeMarcus Lawrence is a great leader and a great veteran. He would deal with it. Yep, he would deal with it. Right before I asked. Yeah. I kind of like having her around. We might, because how many times do you watch these shows and I have to look something up? Now I'll just ask her. I think that's it, guys. I think that'll wrap it up. Let's just give one last look to this in case you were late. If you can see this all, quarterbacks, all three of them, right? Darnold, Locke, Milroe. Running back, and some of these positions, keep in mind, are a little bit different than they actually show up on the roster. Running backs, there's actually 4: Walker, Charbonnet, Martinez, and Oots as a fullback. Brady Russell's listed here, but he's going to be in the tight end room. Receivers, JSN, Cooper Kupp, MVS, Torrey Horton, Jake Bobo, Steven Sims. The tight ends, the 3: AJ Barner, Elijah Arroyo, and Eric Saubert. Offensive line, this is my projected starting lineup right now. Cross, Zabel, Oluwatimi, Haynes, Lucas. And then the 5 backups, Sundell, Jones, Michael Jarrell, Cable Dew, and LeMaya. And then on defense, where are we? Where'd we go? There we are. We've got at linebacker. This is inside and outside linebacker. Ernest Jones, Tyrese Knight, Drake Thomas, and then Mafe, Hall, Nwosu, provided he's healthy, Jared Ivey. Corner, Devin Witherspoon, Reek Woolen, Josh Jobe, Nehemiah Pritchett, and Esas Waxter. Safety, Julian Love, Nick Emenwari, Kobe Bryant, Ty Okada. Defensive line, Leo Williams, Byron Murphy, Jaron Reed, DeMarcus Lawrence, who's actually an edge, Jonathan Hankins, Brandon Peely, and Mike Morris. Let me know down in the comments what you think. And we'll be talking later this week about guys outside the organization, some potential ads at certain spots. Let's do this. Thanks for joining me, you guys. Thanks for your patience in the 4 or 5 days I was driving across the country, couldn't create content, and then in the last couple of days having to use my laptop, whatever, with the training camp reports. All set up now, moving forward. Again, a reminder, Fast Fashion Brewing. This right here, this is a delicious Czech Pilsner, man, I'm telling you. Down on First Avenue, right next to Hooverville, across from Showbox Soto. I'll be going live from there next Friday and Saturday. On Saturday, a little help from my friends, Brandon Kane, Corbin Smith, Bryce Coots, Mookie Alexander. There will be a special guest or two joining me Friday as well. I'll let you know that when I arrange it, but plan on stopping by. It'll be a lot of fun. Try their new beers. Working on a deal where you can get a little bit of a discount if you come in and say you're with me, and really looking forward to the partnership with them. And then I'll be out at Football Fest on Saturday too. If you're going to be out there, let me know. It'd be great to shake your hand and say hello to you then. I'll be at practice Monday and Thursday on the berm, and I'll try to get to a few more as well. So I'd love to meet as many of you as I can. Follow me on Twitter at Seahawks Forever. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button. All the other ways you can support me as an independent full-time content creator listed and linked down below. Forever and always, go Hawks. Thanks, you guys.